Hey everybody, happy Friday. I want to make a short video here and talk about a really important issue I'd like you all to understand. A couple of days ago I sent out a video about the national debt and I've had a lot of questions about it. So I'm just going to make a quick video here and then I'm going to step aside so you can see the screen behind me where I put some numbers together. By the way, Brianna's holding the camera and if it's a little jiggly, it's because it's Friday and she's going to have to hold it for about 3 or 4 minutes here. But what I'm looking at in my hand right now is the Drudge Report, which is just a website that pulls together the kind of the big news stories. Here are the news stories today that are making headlines. Patriots owner Bob Kraft charged with soliciting. The Empire guy Jesse Smollett may have not actually been attacked and it was fake. House Dems ask for a secret copy of the president's taxes. Dogs keep calling 911. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. See, the reason I say those stories don't matter is they don't matter to you or to me. They do have some meaning, but what really matters right now is understanding the math of what's going on in our country, what's going to go on over the next probably 15 to 20 years, and how it impacts you and what you can do about it. So I'm going to step aside here and just focus on the screen, and I'm going to keep on talking to narrate your way through. So we have a national debt of $22 trillion. It is the biggest debt we have ever had. But that's not the full story. If you see any coverage about the national debt, they just like to get a sensational headline, but really that's not the full story. I want to go through this with you. So in addition to the national debt, there are commitments to Social Security for which there is no money set aside, totaling $20 trillion. There are commitments to Medicare for which there's also no money set aside, totaling $29 trillion. We are currently expected to borrow $875 billion this year. Borrowing is expected to increase to over $1 trillion a year. So our total debts as a country are not the $22 trillion, but it's more like $72 trillion, and it's going up. Now, we need to understand the numbers here of the national debt. First of all, the $22 trillion debt will not be repaid. It will not be paid off. It will not go to zero. The issue here is interest expense. So interest expense is what it actually costs the Treasury to maintain a debt of $22 trillion. Historically, interest rates on federal debt averaged around 5%. So just doing simple math, 5% of $22 trillion is $1.1 trillion. If interest rates just go back to the average, $1.1 trillion just on the $22 trillion that we owe. To put this in context, the single biggest source of tax revenue for the federal government is the individual income tax. It only brings in $1.7 trillion a year. So if interest rates just go back to average and we stay at $22 trillion, it's going to consume 1.1 of the 1.7 we pay in income taxes. And I know there's some people who say, well, the federal government really needs to cut spending. I'm not going to argue with you, except a good bit of federal spending is mandatory. For example, that interest payment on the debt is mandatory spending. I'm concerned here that we've crossed or turned the corner is the expression, that you can't cut your way out of this. So let's look at the baby boomer math problem. Baby boomers are Americans born between 1946 and 1964, which makes them now between ages 55 and 73. Average American life expectancy is 86, which means these folks are going to be alive for the next 13 to 31 years. And during that period of time, they're going to be consuming Social Security and Medicare. Now, those totals during that period of time are currently estimated at $49 trillion. Now, if you do just simple math, you divide $49 trillion by 31 years, it means under the best case scenario, we have an average cost for Social Security and Medicare of $1.58 trillion per year, plus the $1 trillion shortfall we're already running. So where are we going to get that much money? Here are the options. We can print it, borrow it, tax it, or default. Let's take printing off the table. If you think we can print $49 trillion, I ask you to Google Venezuela and see what's going on down there right now. We cannot borrow $49 trillion for the simple fact nobody has that much money to lend us. China is not doing well financially. Japan is broke. Europe is broke. Nobody has that much money. You cannot borrow $49 trillion. Default. Default means the government says we're not going to honor our promises to Social Security and Medicare. Do you honestly think a politician can win the state of Florida if they go there and tell Floridians, we're going to cut your Social Security? It's not going to happen. Which leaves us with taxes. At the end of the day, there's no such thing as government money. There is only taxpayer money, as Margaret Thatcher says. You have to remember who votes in this country. It is older people. Young people make a lot of noise, but they don't vote. So let's look at who we tax. There are poor people. Are we going to raise $49 trillion by taxing poor people? Nope, not going to happen. There are rich people. Really rich people have a lot of money, but they don't derive their assets, their fortune from income. They derive it from capital. Capital in this country is not something that we have successfully taxed at a very high rate. Some of the Democrats running for president are talking about it, but at the end of the day, the rich class is the donating class. And I have a hard time seeing these people getting soaked. Then there's you and me. There's the middle class. Middle class people derive their well-being from income. So where is the middle class's money? It's in retirement accounts. It's in 401ks, it's in 403bs, it's in 457s, it's in IRAs. These are accounts where distributions, meaning money coming out, is subject to income taxes. And these are accounts where distributions at a certain age become mandatory. So what can you do? One thing you can do is to convert your retirement account into a Roth account. If you do that and the law doesn't change, the money is tax-free if you follow the rules. The drawback is you have to pay income taxes now on any amount that you convert. I've yet to see too many people who are enthusiastic about writing a big check to the IRS. Or you can legally hide your money, if you will, by overfunding a life insurance policy. Now these have been around for a really long time. The drawback here is because it's a life insurance policy, there are costs. Now these costs are only known if you go through medical underwriting. I think you should give us a call. As you know, we operate at the fiduciary standpoint, and what we need to do is the calculations on whether you should look at doing a Roth conversion, hiding money in life insurance, or some combination of the above. The alternative here is to do nothing and let all those numbers that I just shared with you, which are simple math, let all those numbers potentially affect you in a very negative way. You know my phone number, 410-690-4894. Give me a call. We'll go over this with you and hopefully find a path that works for you. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.